everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. I am joined by the infamous Charlton Gabriel Janho.
See Wheezy on the block.
See Weezy. Yeah.
That's what Cassidy calls me. I have asthma. It's kind of rude.
I didn't know you were gonna say that. Yeah, I do sometimes call I call him Sea Weezy, but you're okay with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I just put up with it.
Okay, so maybe I'll stop calling you that. If it bothers you, I didn't know it bothered you.
It doesn't actually bother me. I'm just being
You
dumb.
barely wheeze. Like, it's only when you're wheezing.
Yeah.
Instead
See
of
Wheezy made an appearance.
instead of me grabbing your inhaler, I'm like calling you names.
Asking me to spit bars while I can't breathe.
Yeah, so we've got a fun episode for you guys. Charlie actually was on the podcast relatively recently, and we did some photography horror stories. Well, believe it or not, we have more stories because I just went through and I just picked the ones that I think are like, going to be good to read. But we had so many that I was like, we have to do another episode. And actually, turns out the second half of the story submissions are crazier than the first half. Some of these stories are absolutely bananas.
So what you're telling me is you saved the best for last.
I did save the best for last, I guess. I didn't mean to. It's just whatever order the submissions come in.
So actually, you guys saved the best for last.
Yeah, truly. The people that had the crazy stories waited into the last minute to submit, which is, it is what it is. It's fine. So we've got some crazy horror stories for you guys today. I personally don't really have any updates for the podcast. I don't think. We're recording this a little bit in advance because we're going to Mexico.
Cabo.
Cabo, and Peru.
Mm-hmm.
So we're recording this like 2 weeks early. So if you guys are interested in seeing anything about those two trips, it's definitely going to be on my Instagram. Surprisingly, Charlie's going, but he doesn't have any technical things to shoot. He is just companion along for the ride. Although, obviously, you guys know me. I'm going to make Charlie do some stuff.
Yeah, she's saying as far as like second shooting, it's not contracted out for the wedding that we're going to, but
yeah,
I'll be getting all sorts of behind the scenes and different stuff because you guys know how we do.
Yeah, behind the scenes. He's also going to get some personal photos for me because I like to throw those in on my Instagram too. So all good things. So stay tuned. And do you have any updates for the podcast listeners?
I don't know if I don't think I would have mentioned this last time I was on, but
Wait, can I guess? Oh yeah, you got a motorcycle?
I got a motorcycle.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I just bought my helmet. And so I haven't ridden with him yet, but catch me in my motorcycle vibes this summer.
Yeah, we're definitely getting after it, that's for sure.
Biker
but I told
gang.
I won't I probably won't bring her on the bike until I've had maybe 500 miles worth of riding or whatever. Just try to give myself some time to
500 miles? Babe, you've only driven like 3.
That's not true. I've probably had around 30 miles worth of riding so far.
Jeez. So I got to wait a long time?
Well, I mean, our windows for riding have also gotten quite
small,
suffocated the last couple of days.
Oh.
So
okay. Well, yeah, Charlie's in his motorcycle moment, having a moment with the motorcycle. So, yeah. Is that it?
I'm still trying to land on a name for the motorcycle.
Ooh. Do you want it to be like an M name, like Megan the motorcycle?
No,
obviously,
it would be a B because of it being a BMW.
Benny.
It'd probably be
Benjamin.
a girl.
A girl? Why?
That's how it works for guys. Guys
That's
always name their
weird.
stuff girls.
So you want to marry your motorcycle?
I mean, no.
She's trying to steal my man.
Obviously not. No.
Okay. Well, you can give her like some name, like Barbara.
I think we'll workshop it and get
Barbara's
back to
actually kind of a cute name. There's this influencer I follow. Her name's Barbara.
The only Barbara I can think of right now is
Barbara
from Abbott Elementary.
Oh, yeah, she's a slay. I like her.
And she is a role model.
She really is. Okay, so we're going to get into our stories today. Oh, hold on. I need to text Lexi back. Charlie, can you keep talking about your motorcycle for 2 seconds?
Yes, it is a 1988 BMW R100 RS. It is very much a vintage motorcycle. I'm super excited about it. For anybody that might have technical understanding of different motorcycle engines, it is a boxer engine. And I will just stop boring all of you with all this
Okay,
because Cassidy's
I'm
done.
ready.
And a lot of that would sound like jargon. So.
It's definitely jargon. Okay, so some of these are anonymous. Some of these, you guys gave me names. We've got a lot to get through. And oh boy, buckle up. Like, seriously, if you're listening, you know how sometimes during a podcast you tune some things out? Listen, okay? Because this stuff is crazy. So I'll start. This one's from Jewel. When I was in my first year of shooting weddings, I was kind of just making everything up. I didn't always meet couples before the wedding day, meaning I didn't know what they were like / their vibe, what guests were like, etc. When this couple booked the wedding, it was going to be at a family property, but then they decided to do the reception on a river cruise boat on a massive river we have near the city. They checked and I was okay with this, which I thought which which I thought it would be cool, and I've been on boats heaps of times so I don't get seasick. And we extended my package hours because I wouldn't be able to get off the boat until midnight. This is starting to sound a little familiar.
Yes, I was going to say we're having some flashbacks in this moment.
The start of the day went fine. Ceremony was all good and well. Then we get on the boat and they had extra guests join that weren't at the ceremony. About 10 minutes after we get on the boat, they start doing some pretty hardcore drugs as well as some softer ones that you smoke and getting really drunk. Softer ones. The boat had some outside parts, but the space is limited. And while 90% of the time I take the stance, you do you, drugs here are illegal, especially on a boat for obvious reasons. So they decided to start trying to do it inside by sneaking into the section that held the bags and my gear to hide from the crew that would stop them. I start inhaling things secondhand every time I go to get my bag or anywhere near this area because it was only sectioned off by a curtain. To cut an even longer story short, I have type 1 diabetes among other autoimmune diseases, meaning my body reacts to everything and I start to get really sick. Like throwing up, I can barely stand up on a boat with 0 people I know, and I cannot get off this boat because we're far from the closest place this kind of boat can dock. I'm massively introverted. I can be extroverted when I need to do the job, which meant I was scared to ask them to get me off the boat. By the time I got off at midnight, I struggled to walk to my car. I ended up in the emergency department where I had to get an IV of fluids and be monitored overnight. To this day, this couple doesn't even know how sick I got because they were so lovely to me, but I can confirm with more experience, I now have a more thorough process for booking weddings and have never had a bad experiences in the 3 years since, and now I'm very grateful for the clients that I work with.
Wow. That's pretty tough. Good for you for powering through, though, and getting that IV afterwards. I don't know if you had to, did they mention they had to go, like, any type of medical place, or they just
They said they went to urgent care.
Oh, yeah.
Or the emergency department.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Something about boats holding photographers captive to the audience that comes on board.
Honestly, I shot a wedding where we had to extend my coverage too because the boat literally could not drop me off. Like it was just like you're stuck on the boat the whole time.
Yep. And they're not turning around for just you.
No, absolutely not.
All right, this one is from Paris. So I do photography at my high school, and we were taking pictures at a big game, and one of the referees got ran over by almost our home team and visitor team. So I'm guessing, I don't know if this is like taking on the field, like when the teams were taking the fields.
Yes.
This referee almost got ran over by both the home team and the visitor team. And then Paris goes on to say, and we have hefty guys. I felt so bad for taking pictures while everyone else was taking a knee in a moment of silence. The silence was deafening and awkward. The amount of stares I got, but it's worth it because I got the shots. But the referee was okay. He got up after a couple minutes.
That's funny.
So basically, this referee almost died, and you
You're
were
taking
just sitting
pics.
there taking photos.
Which, I mean, you would do it too for a check. You know what I mean?
It's a high school game. You're probably not
His
getting a
Paris
check.
getting paid. Either way, it's like you're gonna get. Think of like a football player like on a knee. That's a cool photo. Like all the team on a knee. It's kind of a cool photo. Like I understand the meaning behind it is like someone's hurt, but it is a cool photo because it shows everyone paying respect. And like, if the photographer was like an EMT or something, it's like okay, put the camera down, go help. But what else is the photographer gonna do?
I mean, for sure. But if it's like person with a broken ankle or something,
Right. Like,
know.
yeah. Like, if there's visible, yeah. Like, there's a certain point to where you should stop taking pictures. But it doesn't sound like this person, Paris, was taking photos of the ref that was down. This person was just taking photos of the players, which I think is different, you know?
I'm trying to read back. I feel like from what I read, she was taking photos of the ref.
I don't know. I don't think so. No. Taking photos while everyone else was taking a knee. Oh, but it was worth it. I got the shots. Okay, it doesn't say.
Well,
Okay.
for your sake, Paris, we're going to tell everybody you were getting photos of the guys on the knee.
Yeah, not the referee on the ground. Okay, this next one's from Lindsay. I had a family session in an orchard. This was an extended family session, so there were at least 35 people in the photos. The owner of the orchard forgot to mention when I booked with him that he had beehives being moved around on the property that day. Needless to say, not one person left the shoot that night without at least 5 bee stings. It was an absolute nightmare. Luckily, no one was terribly allergic and no one wanted to sue, but there was a lot of editing because of the red spots all over everyone. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people are allergic to bees. I'm surprised out of 35 people, no one's allergic. I would.
I mean, if someone had been, that would have
Yeah.
been a pretty crazy situation.
And like, I feel like when it comes to allergies, it literally goes peanut butter or peanuts, bees, like as far as common things. Like, I feel like bees are pretty common to be allergic to, don't you think?
I mean, to be honest,
No, you don't think?
I think it's kind of a rare occurrence because I think your family has multiple people that are allergic to bees in it because your mom, right, is
Yeah.
allergic, and you are to an extent.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting to think about because I don't think, like, if I kind of reflect on the people that I grew up with and went to school with and some of my friends, I don't think I knew a lot of people that were actually would have like a anaphylactic reaction to bee stings.
Yeah, you know what? I'm probably the only one that I knew that had reactions to bees, now that I'm thinking about it. I just feel like it's a common one that you hear of. Like, oh, allergic to bees. Oh, allergic to peanuts. So, like, I just feel like a warning would have been nice from Sir Farmer Orchard Farmer.
Yeah, that's definitely something you want to give people a heads up about.
For real. Okay.
This
you've
next
got the
one is
next
from
one.
Jason Smith. In the middle of 2020, COVID, I got a DM from a random account with no PFP, and it was
I think
private.
that's profile picture, right?
Yeah.
Just say profile picture because PFP is kind of confusing.
I don't think that fast on my feet and did not realize what that stood for.
Okay.
So I got a DM from a random account with no profile picture, and it was private. Usually I don't open them if they give me a sketchy feeling, but since it was the pandemic and my only source of income was photography, I decided that anything I can make would be helpful. I opened the DM and it said, "Hello, I really love your photos and it would mean a lot to have you photograph my elopement. Would you be able to set up a Zoom meeting to talk rates and packages?" Kind of weirded out because the account didn't have a profile picture and 0 posts on, and it was on private. But again, I did have many job openings at the time, so I responded and set up a Zoom meeting with said person. They had their camera off and told me a name that sounded very fake. So I already had so many red flags, but I still didn't listen to my gut and kept going. We ended up agreeing on a price, and I was told the elopement was in 2 weeks. They insisted on not sending a deposit, and usually I wouldn't do anything without a deposit, but I was really down to my last few dollars. I show up the day of, and there was literally nothing at the address I was given. It turned out to just be a troll. After I realized what happened, I checked my DMs and the person either deleted their account or blocked me. But after that, I developed trust issues.
Yeah, as you should. Do not trust anyone until you got that money in your pocket for a deposit. I'll tell you what. Who just is doing that for fun? Like, how is that fun? To like pretend to have something that needs to be shot?
Yeah, I'm wondering if this Jason guy. Jason, what'd you do?
Jason, who did you hurt?
Someone was
Someone's
definitely
coming
trying to
for
mess
you.
with you, man. You might wanna be
Yeah.
careful.
We're just kidding, by the way. You're fine, Jason. Okay, this next one is from Liz. I had 2 weddings this past weekend that I rented a newer camera body for. I wanted to upgrade my gear and see what all the hype was about. One feature it had that my current camera does not have is a dual card slot for 2 SD cards. I'd heard that the...
Thank you.
Yeah, idiot, in case you didn't know. Okay. Oh, I'm feeling giggly today. All right. I'd I'd heard that the raw files this camera produced would be bigger than what my camera normally produces. Even so, I was confident that I had plenty of SD cards and inserted 2 at the start of this wedding. At the start of the first wedding. As I'm in the middle of getting ready photos, I realize I'm already out of space on the first 2 cards. I'm like, damn, this isn't going to be enough. Or this ain't going to be enough. So I switched to just 1 SD card. Interesting choice. So switching to just 1 SD card. Later on, I'm really starting to run low, so I grab one of the first 2 SD cards and I delete what's on it to make space. Because, of course, I know I have a backup. If anyone is renting or using a dual slot camera for the first time, let me share some meaningless information with you. The dual slot feature is not automatic. You will have to change the settings yourself. It will just automatically write to 1 single card. What? I didn't realize that, and I erased the 1 card that had the photos on it and kept the blank safe and sound. When I realized this, I felt physically ill, like I could vom right then. I haven't told the bride yet because when and how are you supposed to do that when they're on their honeymoon? Okay. Who wrote this in?
Oh my goodness.
From Liz. Liz. I have like a sinking feeling in my stomach. It's not even my wedding.
There are companies that can do card recovery,
but not if you write over the images. So
did she mention
formatted
that
it and she shot over top of it. When you shoot over top of it, you cannot get those photos back.
Completely gone.
So that's actually a really good point. You always have to change the settings to shoot on dual.
Yeah, it's record media settings, and you can do that you can do it for photo and video, or you could do it just photo or just video.
And it's important, honestly, if you always have that setting on, your camera won't let you even shoot without 2 cards in, which is nice because then you have to go and like manually turn it off if you like want to not have a backup. So it forces you to shoot with 2 cards at all times. But that's a very important PSA. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that it took you having to do that in the middle of a wedding day to learn that lesson, but I don't think you'll ever make that mistake again, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm actually going to read the next one, and then you can read 2 in a row if you want to. Don't look.
No, I'm just trying to get mine prepped for when mine comes up.
Okay. Are you ready? I want to get your honest, genuine reaction. Okay. Hearing a bridesmaid read a heartfelt letter from a couple's brother, thinking that maybe he's deployed or sick, but then find out he's in jail for brutally murdering someone and trying to dispose of the body by burning it, then cutting it up and burying it. But it's okay because according to a guest, quote, "It's a shame he's in jail because he's such a nice boy." That's literally crazy.
That is actually psychotic.
Yeah. And honestly, the guest making that comment too, it's
that's
like,
worse.
That's crazy.
Makes it worse.
Now, I mean, you don't have control over like what your family members do, you know? So like, You still love your brother. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. But like, the couple doesn't necessarily have control over like what the brother did. But also, like, that's literally crazy. Like, to read a letter from him being like, oh, wish I was there.
I also feel like I don't know who was the individual that shared the information as to why the brother was in jail. Like,
True.
why are you just telling people about that?
Yeah. I mean, it is public knowledge, I'm sure.
Yeah, but let them go dig for it if they're
Oh, I
really
see.
that interested in it. You don't need to offer that up to people.
Yeah. Well, it is shocking, that's for sure.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. This next one is from Poppy. I was adventuring into a poppy field. Oh, maybe this person's not named Poppy. Maybe it was just a poppy field.
Charlie, just keep reading.
I was adventuring into a poppy field for a photo shoot and hit my camera off a fence, and the lens cap got stuck in the lens. I only have the one lens with me, and I panicked because I brought my models a long freaking way. I'm like praying for help and have to casually ask them to look for a spot that they think would be good for photos. I'm using a small stone to try and remove the lens cap while squatting in this prickly field full of poppies. Sweat was full dripping off my face because of how like stuck the lens was, and my models were just waiting. Finally, I get it unstuck. Lens still works. Yay. Where are my models? They were like 5 minutes down this massive field in the very middle. Ended up very sweaty, but with the most gorgeous photos. Funny how it happened in a poppy field. And my name's Poppy. Thank you for clarifying. I didn't know if that was just a code word.
No. That's why I was like, keep reading, because literally it's Poppy says it's funny because my name's Poppy.
Well, thank you for the story, Poppy. We appreciate it.
Why am I terrified that my lens cap is going to get stuck in my lens? Honestly, that's why I don't use lens caps.
Yeah, no, that's not the reason why she doesn't use lens caps. That's Cassidy's toxic trait in photography, is not using lens caps. And I'm here to call it out right now.
You're not allowed to do that on my podcast. You're not allowed to come on here trash talk me.
Well, then use your lens caps.
I don't know where they are.
Exactly.
I think my toxic trait more so is that, like, I see a lens cap. I'm like, oh, perfect, the lens cap. I can't wait to have a lens cap for my lens.
Garbage.
And then it just disappears.
No, she throws them out.
I do not throw them out. No, I literally lose them.
She opens up her car window on the drive to different photo shoots and throws the lens caps out the window like a Frisbee.
Interesting. Okay, that's literally not true at all.
Am I supposed to read this next
No,
one
I'm
too?
reading it because you're making me mad.
Okay.
I shot a wedding that had a last minute change of videographer team. They were a nightmare to shoot with the moment they arrived. Highlights of the day include: the bride did not read the 20+ page contract before she signed it, and in it, they demanded that they have the last 15 minutes of golden hour with no photographers. They took still shots, which is a direct violation of my contract. They had 5 cameras for the ceremony, including one set where I had expressly stated was one of the spots I needed to stand. They snapped and yelled at us throughout the day, refused to work alongside us, blocked shots, and intentionally got in the way. It escalated to the point that the coordinator, who was strongly on our side, told them that security would throw them out if there was one more negative thing from them. And at the end of the night, they yelled at her at the send-off, and she told them to get their stuff and leave ASAP. We found out after they left that they had, quote, never had to share the spotlight before, unquote. A direct quote from them, because in their 30 years of business, we were the first photographers they have ever had to work with. You don't believe that? 30 years? They've never worked with a photographer?
Well, my question is do they also offer photography if they were taking stills?
Probably.
Then, like, they probably are just used to being an all in-house team covering both photo and video.
Yeah. Yeah, they're probably used to always being the only one there.
Which is kind of like hard to believe in today's wedding culture that they would be the only people for the last 30 years.
Right. Like I feel like having a videographer is always like a luxury. It's always a secondary. I don't feel like people book videographers and like that's it.
I almost
Unless
feel
they
like
offer photo.
they just said that because I almost find that impossible to believe that they've been in the wedding industry for 30 years and have never had another vendor
Yeah.
to work alongside of.
And yeah, we've worked with some videographers, none that were intentionally like that, but some that got in the way, but like everything that they were doing was unintentional. Like it's not like we said, "Hey, don't do that." Like, "Hey, don't put your tripod in the middle of the aisle," and then they kept it there. It was just like they were doing things and like didn't really realize it, I guess.
They just didn't have really good self-awareness as to the other people around them that were also trying to capture the moment.
Yeah. I have had a couple times and it's been 100% my fault where we leave for golden hour, like leave the reception for golden hour, and I completely forget to tell the videographer that we're leaving. It's happened to me twice, and every time I feel so bad. There was actually one time where we left, and the videographer literally, like, we had to go, like, uphill. Do you remember this? And it was, like, in upstate New York. And the videographer, like, sprinted out of the reception, was sprinting to come find us because literally we were at the very top of the hill, and I totally forgot to tell him that we were leaving.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I feel like that's a common mistake that I make, and I feel like if anyone's got bad things to say about me, it's probably that. What? Why are you just staring at me blankly?
Well, no, I'm also thinking about another videography team that we worked with in New York
Okay.
that was openly complaining about I think they were just a lot more used to having sets that were very like slow and very posed and not a lot of movement. And when Cassidy like came out and was like doing a lot more movement, just a lot more free and trying to get kind of like not necessarily true candid moments, but kind of creating candid moments in her set. And she's like kind of moving side to side and different stuff. This one videography team that we were working with was a set of older guys. They were both probably in their like 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
And I could tell that they were upset with the way that Cassidy was like taking photos. But I was like, I'm sure these old dudes just don't love that style of photography anyway. So
yeah. Okay, let's keep it moving. You can read the next one.
From Sam. OMG, this was at one of the first weddings I was hired for, and I will never forget it. It was in an old church and super traditional. They first had little girls come light these 5-foot candles at the altar, and once the bride entered, I backed up to capture her walking toward the groom, and my hair caught on fire. I backed into one of the candles. As the bride was walking down the aisle, so it then smelled like burning hair. The bridesmaids are swatting my hair, and I'm horrified. Anyways, the day went on, and the bride thought it was hilarious, and I'm much more aware of my surroundings now. LOL.
Yeah, that. Yep, we've seen people back into candles before. Watch out, especially if you got long hair. Candles are coming for you.
Yeah, I think we've also shared the story of a photographer at a styled shoot too.
Yeah,
that
backing up into one.
Live candles and people that are looking through viewfinders, not really focused on their surroundings. It's not a really good mix.
Yeah, it's really not. This one is from Katla Photography. One time this couple came in. Oh my gosh, I know this story. Like I read this earlier and it just makes me cringe. One time this couple came in for a maternity shoot and the dad was very outgoing and very much an extrovert. And he was so into the shoot, which I love. In the final stages of the shoot, I always ask the mom if she wants to be naked in some of the photos, only if she's comfortable and wants to.
What?
I know. That's the part that I'm like, wait, huh? But I'm going to keep going, okay? And then you can react. She agreed, and then the dad says that he was wondering, like he had been thinking about this before the shoot, if they could both be naked in some of the photos as well. I suggest that maybe he could be only wearing pants because that's, fine. And you see those kind of pictures all the time. But he really wanted to be wearing absolutely nothing as well as her. Said that this whole process of bringing a baby into the world is so natural and wanted to embrace that. Like, I agree, but nobody wants to see a man's ass during the experience of pregnancy. I, of course, wanted to make them happy, and I said, okay. Only pose I could come up with was them standing facing the same direction, so her body covered the space nobody needs to see, and him with his hand on the belly and lots of shadows. And then you just get the feeling when you're looking at the photo like his willy is inside of her. But they were on cloud nine with the photos. So all in all, this is a happy story, but I guess I will not be doing that again. I just have so many questions. I guess like if you're okay, but like I don't think I would be like, hey, do you want to be naked?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, maternity shoes, I had to like remind myself, I was like, okay, this is a maternity shoe because I missed that detail at the beginning when you
Right.
started the story. And maternity shoe, like, okay, that's
Yeah,
a little bit
Yeah,
common space for
it
that
is a
type
little.
of photography.
Yeah, I would agree. I could see that. But like the guy, no. That's just.
That is kind of
Yeah,
strange.
I feel like we don't have to keep talking about it. It's
Yeah.
just let it let it sit, let it simmer. You guys can come up with your own opinions based on what you just heard.
The amount of
I know.
the amount of emojis that's like the smiling face with the teardrop next to the
No, like the sweat dripping down the forehead.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's
yeah.
like all over. There's probably 7 or 8 of those
Yeah.
in the midst of the story.
The only thing worse than taking too many photos while you're shooting is getting home and then having to edit all of them. Here are some ways to speed up your editing workflow without losing any quality in your work. Today, I want to introduce Aftershoot Edits 2.0. You can experience the most consistent edits straight out of Aftershoot. One of my favorite things about Aftershoot is their upgraded white balance and exposure AI models. Even if your lighting varies during your session and you have a lot of drastic changes, Aftershoot's able to instantly fix any blown out highlights, murky shadows, and overall, this feature allows you to have balanced photos no matter what your lighting conditions were. Another way to speed up your editing workflow is by using AI masking in Aftershoot Edits 2.0. This feature allows you to selectively edit your images through masking. With AI masking, Aftershoot can automatically select your subjects and adjust them to really make them pop in your image. Another great way to save time while you're editing is to use Aftershoot's advanced cropping and straightening. This tool allows you to customize and select any aspect ratio, and it even automatically crops in your photos so that the focus is more on your subject. It also can automatically straighten your photo, which is going to save you so much time in the long run. Say goodbye to spending way too much time editing your photos and use Aftershoot Edits 2.0. Aftershoot has an exclusive offer for all Oh Shoot listeners, so go to the link in the description of this episode to find out more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now back to the show.
All right. From Josie Clark. Not a really big horror story, but I posted a reel on my photography account of before and after I edit the images. I said in the video why I don't give my clients the raw images. I've seen some photographers do this. Now, I'm newer to photography. I've been doing it since last November, so I'm still trying to figure out everything, including editing. Well, everyone decides to attack me on my post saying, my 6-year-old son can edit better than you on my Galaxy, the phone. You suck at editing. I can do that with my phone. The video has over 200K views and over 14K likes now, and the majority of these people are hating on it. I have a few photographers sticking up for me, but still it makes me not want to edit pictures anymore. I've been feeling so down about it. I was editing someone's photos the other day and was just so upset with the outcome, and I can't afford expensive presets yet, but I also haven't found any I really liked. I've just used some cheaper ones to still get the feel of a preset being on them. Anyways, sorry for that long rant. I'm just very upset and insecure about my editing though.
Yeah, so I included this story just because I just wanted to I guess a little intermission, just be like, hey guys, Sometimes there are trolls out there, haters. Like literally, I dare you to go click on like any of my videos. You will see people just like are haters. Like people literally are haters, okay? And number one, to was it Josie? Don't like literally stop reading the comments. Leave that video up because all press is good press, all traction is good traction. I mean, you know, I was not amazing at editing when I first started photography. I actually, quite frankly, sucked at it. And it wasn't until I actually got a preset and I really loved it. And then I started to understand, like, I kind of got the preset first and then I backtracked and figured out, like, the whole process of creating a preset. But it started with me getting a preset I really liked. And it just takes time. So, like, if you've got a hater out there, it's fine. You've got a whole video where it's like going viral. Honestly, I would just leave it up and just like, take the critics' words. Like, okay, maybe you do need to work on editing. These people are obviously very mean though. Like, that is not an okay thing to say. And honestly, I'm sure your photos look good. People are so dramatic, like so dramatic. So take it with a grain of salt, keep moving forward, and just really focus. If you really feel like, okay, I want to work on my editing because it sounds like you have kind of been struggling a little bit just based on what you said about your last shoot, just really go into YouTube and deep dive into some of those editing strategies, editing techniques, and really learn all the different areas of Lightroom. So just wanted to include that story and say sorry that this is happening to you, but keep your head up. Like literally ignore. Do not read the comments.
People like to fixate on really crazy stuff sometimes. And it's hard because it can feel like it drowns out the good at different times. So just keep your head up. You got this, Josie.
Yes, Josie. Okay, this one's from Carly. So I had this trip planned with a couple to go to Greece and do their anniversary photos. They were horrible to work with from the beginning, but I pushed through. They were extremely irresponsible, honestly, the entire time I worked with them. We get to the airport and everything blew up, and this girl didn't know that you can't travel to certain countries if your passport expires within a certain time frame. So everything fell through at the airport. I got blamed even though I had nothing to do with it, and I didn't get to go on the trip and had to get my stuff off the plane before it took off. It was so heartbreaking. There's so much more to this story about how bad it was, but yeah, long story short, that's what happened. Safe to say, we are not friends, and they ended up somehow getting it rescheduled, and they're actually there right now. They even asked me to go, but I said I didn't feel comfortable with how they had treated me last time.
Yeah, to add salt to the wound, like, hey, they're over in Greece right now as I'm
Yeah.
texting this.
Yeah, as we're speaking, they're in Greece. That's so unfortunate. I actually just saw a TikTok of a girl traveling and her passport like was about to expire and she was going to Mexico and they almost like didn't let her go because of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I've never really realized that in traveling, that if your passport is about to expire, even though it's valid at this moment,
Yeah.
there might be countries that won't let you through.
Right, because what if it expires while you're there?
I'm
sure that's what they're
wondering if it's even like, if it were to expire while you're there, that's one thing. I feel like that would be a pretty understandable reason. But maybe like say you've got like a 6-month window before your passport expires, but you're taking a trip that's only like 2 weeks long.
Yeah. I want to know what the number is, because if it's like, I mean, my passport expires in like 5 years. Am I safe?
Yeah,
is anyone safe? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's too soon?
I mean, it truly is interesting. Like, I don't know the answer to that. So
Yeah.
be something to kind of look into at some point.
Yeah. Okay. You can read the next one.
This story is about my first shoot with a newborn on oxygen. At this time, I worked for a company, so I had training on how to swaddle a newborn with oxygen. I understand that some parents prefer to take the baby off oxygen while taking photos and then to put oxygen back on them in between props and swaddling, or to have the oxygen line edited out. The family told us ahead of time that the baby was on oxygen, so we were prepared. This family showed up with the baby not on oxygen. And I thought nothing of it at first, because the baby could have gotten cleared before coming, but thought it was interesting because the baby still had the heart monitor on its foot. As I'm getting ready to do my first swaddle, his heart monitor starts going off, and I apologized and turn off the alarm. This happened several more times throughout the session. They finally say that they are done turning off the alarm, and they're just going to take his heart monitor off his foot because it keeps going off because his oxygen levels are too low. They then explain they didn't want to have to deal with bringing his oxygen tank and didn't want photos of him on oxygen, so they left it at home an hour away. As I'm swaddling the baby's feet for the last photo, I can see the baby's feet are turning blue and so are his lips. The parents ask if I can edit the color of his skin so that he doesn't look so blue and jaundice. I am speechless. I finish the session and explain that I can send them the photos later that day. They insist on seeing the photos in person when I was done with them, which was an hour. They came back with the baby still on no oxygen and loved the photos and leave. I cried editing the photos, and it took everything in me not to call the police. I still cry over that session to this day, 3 years later.
That is just horrible.
I almost couldn't keep reading it, to be real with you.
Yeah, and just like, can you imagine, like, literally your baby? Like, your baby cannot tell you if it has like problems or if it can't breathe. Like, literally your baby can't say anything. You're in charge of taking care of that baby. And like, you're going to do that. Honestly, I would have probably called some sort of child protective services or something, because like the seriousness of being on oxygen and like having multiple signs, like the monitor kept going off. Like, okay, maybe there's a reason. Like, no, I'm not editing your baby's feet to not be blue. Like, they literally were blue because you literally were not giving your baby oxygen when your baby needed oxygen.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the photos are not important at that point.
Literally, like, get your baby home, get your oxygen. Why? If it were me, I would not go anywhere without oxygen. I would literally bring it with me. And like, okay, if you feel comfortable taking the baby off oxygen for like the shoot, but like always have that with you. That's like having like, I don't know, like like that's literally what the baby needs to breathe.
Yeah.
Like, and why would you not bring that?
Yeah, and it's tough. Like, I'm not, for the photographer that submitted this, so I'm not trying to like harp on them. Like, they're obviously in a very compromising position because here are these people that probably signed a contract for this moment in time and want this to be fulfilled and taken care of as far as the photos are concerned. But at the same time, it's like you do not agree with them basically neglecting the very necessity to live of breathing for this baby.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how it works when like babies are on oxygen. I'm sure some babies can get clearance. You know what I mean? Like, some babies can get cleared to go for a certain amount of time. I don't know how it works. But like, I think if there's clear visual signs that the baby's like struggling,
I mean, if the baby's turning blue, the heart monitor has been going off, and literally, that's I don't know what to say.
911. What's your emergency?
That's really crazy.
Okay, this next one is from Kimberly Snape. This was my second year shooting weddings solo. I had just started getting comfortable with my flash and using it in some darker situations. This wedding I was shooting in particular was for a family friend. It was a more gothic Halloween horror movie themed wedding taking place in October. Think along the lines of black wedding dress, gothic apparel, skeletons, etc. We arrived at the venue and I took some getting ready shots there. It was bright in the back hall where the bride was waiting before the ceremony. I said I was going to be right back and get some detail shots where the ceremony was going to be taking place. I opened the double doors to the ceremony aisle and my soul literally left my body and joined the decor. It was pitch black in there. Minus some purple ambient lights reflecting on the wall. I was dead. No pun intended, considering the type of wedding this is. I immediately tried coordinating my flash the best that I could and practicing the lighting. The ceiling was super high and dark. My flash just could not bounce off of anything. I played around with my settings more and felt somewhat okay with it firing off until it came time for the ceremony and the time for the bride to walk down the aisle. My flash would not go off, and I thought I was going to throw up. I quickly tried changing batteries to see if that would help. Still, nothing. Switched to a higher ISO, turned the flash off to try to salvage what I could of any shot of her walking down the aisle after missing some bridesmaids due to lack of shutter firing. I got maybe 3 photos of the bride, one with the flash and 2 very grainy high ISO versions. My heart was pounding, pretending to press the flash trigger so it didn't look like I was completely in the dark with what I was doing. Thank God she was a family friend of mine and so chill. I went up to her after the ceremony and mentioned what happened, the lighting problem, and said that I could totally refund her some of the money if she wasn't happy after she saw the photos. She was very understanding, replied that even she too thought it was too dark and it wasn't supposed to be that dark and the lighting was different than what they had planned the night before. And so she was shocked walking in to see the purple light that dimmed. This made me feel loads better because it was definitely one of my first horror moments and made me do so much more deep diving into using Flash. I'm so glad it was a family friend, not a stranger or a client I didn't know. Love your podcast and thank you for reading.
Yeah, that's, I mean, flashes can present some pretty scary situations.
Yeah. And if there's nothing to grab onto focus wise,
Yeah, your camera's just going to struggle big time.
at that point, I would use like the constant light, I think.
I was going to say, I think you probably have to. You probably have to pre-lit it just a touch with the constant lighting, and then it would like be able to fire. After
which
that.
absolutely ruins the vibe for sure. You're blinding your client, and it's like so bright for everyone else. But I mean, at least you can get a photo.
I was going to say, when the venue kind of screws you over like that, you
Yeah.
don't really have any choice but to kind of ruin the moment with your own light, so that way you at least have some work to be able to show for the moment.
Yeah. Okay, we got to keep moving along because we're at 45 minutes already. So you got the next one.
This one?
Yep.
Okay. From Annie. I am a newer elopement photographer in Vegas, but I also work a full-time job. I had someone reach out months in advance for their elopement. They signed the contract, filled out the questionnaire, and tried to pay the deposit, but it wouldn't go through correctly because they were international. I normally always require a deposit, but said I could waive it since they seemed super excited to work with me. 2 days before the elopement date, I reached out with where to meet outside a casino and verified the time. The couple never emailed back, but I thought they may just be busy from travel and such. Day of elopement, I go to my normal 8 to 5 and then leave straight after to go downtown, which takes at least an hour due to traffic. I did have a gut feeling like, weird, they didn't respond. I hope they show up. Anyways, I get to the location and don't see my couple anywhere. So I realized that outside the front of the casino could be too vague, so I did at least 10 laps around this casino. I called the couple, but it wouldn't go through since it was an international number. I emailed the couple multiple times from when I was on my way to when I arrived at the location, and then 5 minutes after, then 20 minutes after. It was only a 30-minute session. After doing literally 25 laps around the casino and asking staff if they saw any couples, I finally gave up and went home. The couple to this day has said nothing to me, and I now know to require a deposit and an email response back verifying details before the day of the session. You live and you learn, but that's the one time I have been completely stood up. It did hurt a little, but I laughed it off.
Yeah, that would hurt. That's why you always get your bag. Always get your bag. It's the lesson of this episode.
Yeah, and Jason wasn't.
It was Jason.
Also got ghosted too.
Mm-hmm. It's terrible. This makes me think back on like when I think my second year doing weddings and just like, or not even just weddings, photography in general. The situations were like, I didn't know anything about my client. Like they paid a deposit and I just show up. Like I show up when you tell me to show up at this time. I have no idea. Like there was one time I literally, like I didn't get this girl's Instagram and like she didn't give me any contact info. Like, and I just had her email, but she paid me on PayPal. So I literally got her email through PayPal, looked up and found her Instagram somehow just to make sure she was legit, because I was going to a hotel room at 5 a.m. and meeting them. So I was like, and like by myself. And I was like, I need to figure out if this girl's real. That was the only time when I, like, basically my whole career, I feel like I genuinely was like showing up and I was like, I could totally get murdered right now. Like, most of the time I'm like, okay, I feel like I know these people. This specific instance, I was like, no idea what I'm coming into. Don't know these people. Thankfully, though, my people paid. They ended up being legit. But like, I feel like sometimes you just don't know these people that are reaching out to you. That's why it's important to do like calls and emails and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the vetting process is definitely important.
Yeah. Okay. So, as a videographer, I had a wedding where the photographer didn't show up. She told the couple that she had a family emergency. Meanwhile, I texted the photographer to check on her because I had worked with her at previous weddings. And she revealed to me in private that she actually double booked on that date by accident and didn't want the couple to know. She sent her associate shooter, who had only worked 2 weddings prior, to do the entire wedding alone. On top of that, this day was so stormy, the power went out at the reception and a groomsman passed out on stage during the ceremony. One of my craziest weddings to date. That's the tea we needed right there. Thank you. Thank you very much, videographer, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Imagine finding out your wedding photographer literally just had poor organization skills. I would be so mad.
Yeah, I don't understand how you keep that from your couple.
Yeah. Are you fixing your mic? Okay, everyone
Yeah.
brace your ears. It's going to be annoying for a little bit.
Never mind. I'll stop doing it.
Okay. You can go on to the next one. This next person actually submitted 2 stories, but both of them are like really good, so I included both of them.
I was trying to like shift my legs, but it didn't end up working.
Yeah, there's no time for shifting. At a time like this, absolutely not.
From Samantha, I have 2. One horror that happened to me and one that happened to the couple. First, shooting a wedding on a perfect summer evening on a cliffside venue, doing golden hour portraits with the couple before the reception starts. As we're walking from the cliffside to the flower field, I was leading the way a good 10 feet away. A skunk runs right in front of me, crossing my path. It sprayed me point blank range. My whole lower body was covered and so was my camera bag. I quickly run to get wet ones to wipe everything down and head back outside to finish portraits. The couple went in. I ran to my car, changed clothes and shoes, and chucked it all in the trunk. Rest of the night was great. I had to get my car ozone depleted twice. And the second story. Not only did it pour during a good chunk of their day, which pushed the ceremony back 3 hours because they wanted to wait it out. So their ceremony became an outdoor at night, still in heavy rain. Oh no, their uncle rolled and broke his ankle. There's more. Bride's dad stood and yelled at the end of speeches how she didn't appreciate him, how his daughters are worthless, swearing them out and wishing not nice things on them. Then he stormed out of the wedding. It was wild.
The audacity that skunk has is crazy. The fact that skunk thinks that in a time like that, it can just spray you, that's crazy. I want to say good on, was it Samantha? Good on you for having a full change of clothes with you.
Yeah, and even shoes too. When you said you had extra shoes in the car, I was like, yeah. This girl's prepared.
And wet wipes. This is beginning, like, for me in my head, an emergency kit that you bring with you. A change of clothes, wet ones, like literally any circumstance you can think of, like pack it in a bag. Now, will I ever do that? No. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm always going to be within 10 minutes of a Target probably, or Walmart, or I don't know, Walgreens.
Walmart, Cassidy, you're
Charlie,
going to buy a replacement outfit at
I would
Walmart?
literally go to Walmart. Yes, absolutely. If I got sprayed by a skunk, I would wear an old t-shirt. I would literally wear a t-shirt from the dumpster. Well, not the dumpster, because
maybe
at that point,
bag?
I would wear a trash bag.
What if you like put the trash bag over your skunky clothes to
smart.
seal all of the...
That's actually so smart. Because, like, what if you literally have nothing else to wear? What if you just go home?
Yeah, like,
How about we just
listen,
go home?
I'm not gonna be able to be around you guys because you're not gonna be able to stand the smell of me.
Yeah, like listen, I stink. I need to leave. Excuse my smelliness.
Like, I can refund you for whatever.
Okay. I was just recently editing a session on Lightroom and had just finished all the edits and was getting ready to look at them over one more time before submitting them to my client gallery. And instead of exporting all the images, I accidentally pasted a preset to all the photos highlighted from the session, and I had to go through and do the edits again. I do have to say, when I read this, my immediate thought was, where is Command Z? Like, edit, undo. Unless, like, did you do it like, I don't know, maybe you did it and then closed out and didn't realize you did it? You can't Command Z that. That just sucks. It just goes to show. Only look over your photos once. I'm just kidding.
The less you look over your photos, the better.
The better.
That's the main thing you should be taking away
Absolutely.
from this. Okay, here's the next one. Warning, this is long. About 2 months ago, I had posted on my Instagram story that I would be doing a styled shoot and needed some models. This styled shoot was just me being the photographer. Sorry.
Are you good?
Yes. Fast forward about a week after I posted that story, I had my models and I went to tour the venue I would be taking photos at to get an idea of the space. I posted again on my story a picture of the venue and captioned it, "Exciting things coming soon." Another local photographer, who I have supported heavily on socials, swiped up and asked me if I would want her to come to assist me. I was thinking, yes, that's perfect. And I can have someone help me hold the veils, or someone to help models fix their hair, etc. Fast forward, it's the day of the styled session. Keep in mind, I paid for the venue. I paid for model outfits, shoes, accessories. She messaged me asking if I care if she brings her camera, ... Me knowing I have to see her in an hour and half said yes, of course, just to avoid confrontation and awkwardness. Hoping she would lightly use her camera, or maybe she was asking so she could take BTS pics. We get to the shoot. The models arrive. The other photographer who I thought was there to assist me arrives. I set the models in one spot to start posing them. Immediately, this photographer tells the models, "You guys don't look good in this pose. Do this instead. Move your feet this way." Then she pulls out her camera and flash and starts firing away. Me being the nice human I am, I just let it slide. Then she quite literally started making fun of me in front of these models, fully took over the shoot, and at the end of the shoot had them all follow her Instagram and told them she would be sending them galleries within the next week. All of the models texted me after the shoot saying they were so sorry for how she was treating me and they would pay me to do another shoot of them because they know I didn't get the shots I wanted. Moral of the story, I need not to be so nice, and the sad reality is a lot of photographers aren't out here to support. Sadly, I was fully taken advantage of.
That's so sad. It I feel like there's always that risk when someone's like, "Hey, can I assist you?" or "Hey, can I help you?" I feel like there's always a risk that there's ulterior motives, which I mean, sometimes when you assist, if there's time, you can take your camera out. But like, you are not there to participate. You offered to assist. That is not assisting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, you obviously don't want to be the person that is known for being super exclusive and never allowing other people to come in on stuff, but at the same time, you don't want to be the person that's always getting taken advantage of too. So, it's definitely a balance to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry that happened.
For sure. Okay, we've got one last story for you guys, and this one is from Natalie. I fell in a waterfall. I was shooting a proposal by a waterfall, and I had told the guy that I'd meet them at the bottom after and I'd get their engagement photos. I saw where he was leading her, and the only way to get a good shot was to take my shoes off and stand in the water. I stood in shallow water and got the main photos, but I yelled at them after, "Congrats, yay," and made my way over to get to where they were, where you had to step in the water on a rock. And on my way over there, my feet were wet. So when I took that step, I fell in the deep side of the water right beside the waterfall, completely submerged during a proposal. I get out and it's about 40 degrees outside and I'm drenched and I'm trying so hard not to cry. And I'm telling them how sorry I was that I fell in. And I told them, okay, let's get some pictures before I take off. Then I look down and realize that my camera went underwater with me. So I pretend that it works for 5 minutes. It wasn't working. And then I tell them that I would give them engagement photos because I feel so bad. They ghosted me and I ended up having to pay $4,000 for another camera.
Oh my goodness. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. I just picture like if I fell in the water with my camera, the way my treading skills would kick on so quickly and that camera would be above my head. Like I know sometimes you can't prevent it, like, but I would try with every fiber of my being to save that camera. Like nothing on my body, like no clothes I'm wearing, no shoes I'm wearing are as valuable as that camera, especially if you are taking photos of something like a proposal, something that can't be redone. Like those pictures are so valuable. Oh, that's
I almost
so
feel
unfortunate.
like, did they mention how close they were to like the edge of the water?
No.
I almost feel like if I knew I was like kind of like in the process of falling, I
You'd
would
throw your
throw
camera.
my camera back to shore.
I'm sure that might have been an option. Either way, I feel like there's no good solution. And then it
At the
sucks that
same
they
time,
ghosted you too.
Like, why wouldn't you? I'm not trying to rub salt.
Charlie,
in the
this
wound.
is not this person's fault.
If you know you're going to be going to shoot a proposal that is near the water or the place that you're going to be hiding is close to the water, you should probably take some precautionary steps.
Dang. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it sounded like this person, like the only option was to stand in the water. Like they said like there was no other place to take the photos, like that you'd actually be able to see it based on where the client chose to stand.
I mean, with that being said, too, did they know that, or was that just the way it happened with where the client ended up
I don't
on
know.
the day of?
True.
That's
I
what I'm
don't think
saying.
this
Like,
is
if
really
you,
100% the person's fault. Like it okay, like
well, what I'm getting at is if you knew the only spot to take the photo from was in the water,
I don't think they knew that. Oh, you're saying like they shouldn't have stood there in the first place?
know that they should have brought like a
I don't think they
thing for the camera.
probably knew that that was like going to be the only place. Obviously, no photographer is going to choose and tell someone to stand where the only place that they can stand is in the water. Like that's not going to be like a preference, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. We can agree to disagree. Apparently,
Well,
Charlie thinks this girl did it on purpose or something.
No, not at all. I'm just saying if you're gonna be shooting out in the water.
Take some precautions.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally never take precautions, so
I know.
yeah. All right, well that wraps up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and we will see you next week. Bye.